Hey, in this movie, I'm going to show you how I produced this track with Launchkey MK4. Using all of the built-in features to quickly come up with great rhythmic and melodic content, and working purely with devices that come with Live 12 Lite, which comes bundled with the keyboard. I'm going to kick things off by setting this default Ableton Live project to a scale, going for the Dorian in F. And I love the fact that Launchkey is in sync with this, so when I hit the scale button, the keyboard is now locked to that scale too. So I can see the notes on the screen and then play them with the keys in a few different ways, with easy scale being the simplest, with just the white keys from C to C. So it's easy to play diatonic triads from the scale. Or for inspiration, I can activate chord map mode, which has 40 unique progressions for every scale. An adventure setting allows you to choose how experimental the chords are. A setting of 4 or 5 can get pretty dissonant. But lower down can be really interesting as well. Check this lush sequence on Adventure 2. Pretty diatonic at the end there, but those first 3 chords are properly interesting. So I'm going to get these down with the metronome on as the basis for the track. It sounds a bit basic currently because I'm using a default instance of drift, but it's often a great starting point, and the encoders map really well to the instrument's controls, so I know where all the main parameters are and can shape it into something I like pretty quickly. One way of making a bass line is just to double the chords, so I've got this 808 sub-bass drift preset. And whilst I could just play the note corresponding to the chords shown on Launchkey's screen in chord map mode, another quick way in Live is just to copy over the clip, making sure it's in a suitable octave, so down a couple of octaves, and then mute all of the notes apart from the lowest one. Muting is safer than deleting when doing this, as you might need to change the note being played, like with this first F chord here, as it's an inversion that doesn't have the root note at the bottom. For the lead then, I've got this Zonk Pluck Drift preset. It's really soft and fluffy, so it's going to complement the rich chords well, and there's a couple of different approaches I might try here. Firstly, I could just double the main chords by playing the same sequence in chord map mode, maybe up or down an octave. But even better might be to use the performance pads alongside, which allow the chords to be played in different ways, from straight arps up or down, to toggling between one or more bass notes and the rest of the chord. But I think cycling through inversions is going to work really well on this, so the harmony stays fresh despite the same chords being hit for extended periods of time. An alternative idea could be to try ascending ARP mode. But I want to use both hands, so I'll activate the latch button at the end so I don't need to hold the performance pad down. And I want to try a less regular rhythm, so I'll have a jam with that. I'm quite enjoying those occasional pitch slides when I accidentally hit 2 pads at the same time. I'm going to capture MIDI to save that jam to a clip because there's some good bits in there. If I wanted to get more ideas down, by the way, then one tip when using Launchkey is to set the encoders to transport mode, which is typically for navigating the arrangement. But in session view, you can use the third encoder, which is vertical zoom in arrangement mode, to scroll up and down through scenes. So it's a really good way of quickly recording a clip on your track to anywhere in the grid while staying in chord map mode. So great for keeping an uninterrupted creative flow. Let's get some drums in now. I'm going to use this Selector Kit drum rack preset, which is particularly good with Launchkey because first switching to drum mode means I have all 16 drums across the pads. So I could record in a pattern, of course, or use the sequencer DAW mode. So I'll get a kick down, making a 2-bar loop, and then add a hat and snare. My favourite part of the kit though is that it's actually loaded with a ton of samples for every drum, which can be fully customised using Launchkey. So I can just choose a drum, then with the encoders in plugin mode, making sure the selector racks have focus in the project, I can do things like change the sample, change the volume, or just bring the level of the other drums down a bit. And adjust really useful things like boom or drive, as well as amplitude envelope and pitch. And now let's bring the other drums back and have a play with those too. It's the perfect way to fully customize your beats. Going back to melodies now, let's get an ARP pattern in, which is a really fun part of Launchkey where you can just turn on ARP mode and then hold down notes on the keyboard in scale mode. Soloing that for a sec though, I might just change up the number of octaves. Or hold down more than one note. Or 3 notes for a cross rhythm. And to make it more interesting, I can change up the notes being held down through the phrase. Another way to go might be to let Launchkey do all the work though, so I could latch the notes rather than hold them down. And then I could try out some different ARP rhythms and see what's happening on the pads in ARP mode. Or just turn on whatever steps I want. And I think adding some ties to the pattern might sound nice. And mutate will then set how much melodic interest we have in the pattern, so that's a really nice one to experiment with. Happy with how it's sounding, I can just hit record to lay it down into a new clip. Let's get one more melodic idea down with this new patch, and I'm going to use fixed chord mode to play diatonic triads with a single finger. Or maybe a 7th chord. I think I'll go for a basic triad though, but I'll put the 5th down an octave, so it's inverted. And the specific scale mode that I'm using makes a difference here, so it's useful to know which one is active. One tip here, by the way, if I want to switch what the encoders are controlling or check settings without turning any modes off, I just press and hold the mode button, like when switching between ARP and scale mode. Also, ARP mode works really well with fixed chord, as you can hear. Anyway, I often prefer snap to scale mode with fixed chords because the notes occasionally shift around because of the snapping. We've got some slightly more interesting things going on in certain places, like around those semitone intervals. Sounds good, let's get that down. And now let's automate that with some filters, shaping and reverb to make it more evolving. before more jam with this now, I might want to use the faders on Launchkey to bring sounds in and out. But as they go to the full range of the track fader, all the way up to plus 6 dB, one technique to compensate for that extra headroom is to use utility on each track's device chain to turn levels down. So I can drag the effect to each track in the project. And then in plugin mode on the hardware, I can very quickly get levels balanced by selecting tracks and then using the same encoder to adjust each utility's gain setting. Then I can use faders with complete confidence, smashing them all the way up whenever required and knowing my levels are good. Alternatively, to record something into the arrangement, now I've got some scenes blocked out in session view, Launchkey's pads and encoders make it easy to trigger scenes, while simultaneously tweaking effect racks on the master channel to lay out the entire foundations of a track in a purely hands-on fashion. At any point, by the way, if you want to turn off the lights on the keyboard for whatever reason, you can hold Shift and Settings for a couple of seconds and go completely dark while still having full keyboard functionality. I hope you've enjoyed this movie and learned some new Launchkey techniques. Stay subscribed to the channel for more tips and giveaways coming in the near future. See you next time.